All right, it is 7 o'clock. We're calling the meeting to order. Our first item is the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call.
All right. Ms. Bollenbacher.
Here.
Ms. Campitello, is she online?
We'll see if Coletta
No,
and
she's not.
Kirsten.
No. Mr. Hof? Here. Mr. Marks?
Here.
Mr. Oliverio?
Here.
Ms. Pokalnik is absent. Mr. Wozniak?
Here.
Mayor Perry?
Here.
You, Solicitor Corbel?
I'm here.
Engineer Keenan?
Here.
Director Tedesco? Here. Chief Ford is not here tonight, and myself, we do have a quorum.
Great. All right, the consent agenda. We have the council meeting minutes from February 12th. We also have the bill list from February 26th and also all the reports. These were all in the OneDrive for council review. I'm looking for a motion to approve the February 26th consent agenda pending bill list approval by the borough president, manager, and treasurer.
So moved.
Mr. Marks?
Second.
Ms. Bollenbacher, any questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes, and that's 5. Public comments on agenda items. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitors are assigned timekeeper. Please state your name and physical address for the record.
List is empty.
Okay. All right. Anybody online, please raise your hand. Okay. This is our president's report. So.
I have to actually apologize. He's not gonna be able to make it tonight.
Oh, he
We'll
isn't?
push it to the next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Construction projects, of course, every meeting asking for patience on all the construction projects, right on your street, Reese, there. Yep. So please be patient. It's only going to get more are coming. So just be prepared. And then in the end, we'll have lots of good infrastructure. All right, mayor's report.
Nothing to report tonight, thank you.
All right, solicitor's report.
Yep, real quick, there will be an exec session tonight after the meeting to discuss personnel matters. We still have the placeholder here for that Senate bill support letter that we've talked about the last couple meetings. So I don't know if you have any questions for me, but I think it's the ball's in council's court if they want to do something.
Yeah, here's trying to get online. Can you double check? She's not be able to get in. Can you send her a link, like copy a link from down there and send it to her? For whatever reason, she's having trouble getting on.
And that was from the last meeting, Kirsten was going to put together the support letter for council review. I didn't receive anything from her. I did send her the information, but I haven't received anything. So
Okay.
Let's start with the manager's report. Unless once she gets in, we can come back to that one. Jim, did you want to?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna start with the manager's report
Yes.
and then we'll come back to that one.
And that's what I'm trying to make. Oh, she got in. Good.
Is she getting in?
She's
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, just can you promote
I
her?
got it.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Well, we can ask her then. She's.
Yeah.
Takes a second.
Okay.
There. There we go.
Kirsten, are you in?
I am in, yes.
Okay, great. We just approved the consent agenda. We had the president's and managers' reports. The guest speaker is not coming tonight. And we had the bill SB 194, which was the action to make a proposal to council based on your recommendations.
Yes. Are we already at that part?
Yes.
Did we get there that fast while I tried to get into Zoom? I have several things I wanted to discuss on that. So there are two bills that are being considered in the legislature at the moment. There is House Bill 1291 and Senate Bill 194. They both vary in what they are trying to accomplish. There have been various analyses done of both of those bills. House Bill 1291, the first one I mentioned, it did pass the next phase of the House in early February, so it's moving on to the next stage of consideration in the House. I'm going to read a bit of an analysis and summary I put together for these two, and then I do have some recommended language for council to consider. Does that sound good?
Yes.
All right, there is, and I can circulate the link to this news article. It's easy to find in the Times Leader from last year. I thought it had a really good, really good phrasing that said what I wanted to say better than I did. So I'll just quote them. Broadly speaking, the move makes governments strikingly unaccountable. With no published record, the government entity becomes the sole provider of evidence that it did advertise meetings, bids, bond issues, and budgets. It also means that if you want to know when the next meeting is or what a municipal body is up to, you have to find their website, then find their notices, and find them while they remain posted. I think this is a really succinct summary of the thing that I found uncomfortable about these bills. House Bill 1291 seems to address this a bit better, but it partly addresses it better by not going quite as far. Senate Bill 194, I think, is too rigid. My suggestion is that we do support the Pennsylvania legislature's efforts to modernize how municipal notices must be issued, particularly by addressing that the current requirements are onerous in a time when print media is dwindling in readership and availability. However, any legislation that allows public notices to prioritize online and digital platforms is concerning in the impact on residents with limited internet. A majority preference for digital access should not overshadow the inability of a minority to access digital sources. Requiring paper notices on municipal buildings is an insufficient alternative that maintains barriers in access and opens a concerning opportunity for municipalities to avoid oversight. I have some suggested language. There's kind of a lot packed in there. So this is the language that I'm suggesting, and we can discuss if it's clear enough or not. I would suggest that we, as Crafton Council, encourage Pennsylvania to update the law according to the recommendations of HB House Bill 1291, but refine this language to allow flexibility in what type of print media qualifies, which is what it does. Enable digital sources to be sufficient when no reliable printed news source is available, yet continue to ensure that print notices are used when possible, both to protect access for those without digital connectivity and to ensure transparency in publishing and archiving outside of municipal control.
Any thoughts or comments?
I mean, initially, I agree generally with what you're saying, Kirsten. I'd love to see it. I don't know if you've emailed it over to us, but I'd love to see it emailed over so I could mull it over. I was just pulling up HB 1291 because I haven't looked at this one yet. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we necessarily want to recommend that the state legislature prefer, digital over print in every case, but yeah, I mean, I feel like I can make the same arguments on the other side, right? Plenty of folks don't have access to paid newspapers, don't subscribe to them at all. And I think they're also currently left out. But there's got to be some middle ground, right? And I think pushing them to like modernize things is a good call. But we should probably put something in there about what we want to do as Crafton, right? Like, I know that we can ask them to modernize things, but ultimately, if things play out and the Post Gazette, goes out and then the Trib doesn't pick it up or the price goes up or whatever, then like that puts us in a bind. So I don't know if we need to like put our heads together and figure out what we would ask them explicitly for us. I mean, yes, we want to obviously put a message out that applies across the state, but I think we should also make our case here too.
Could I make a suggestion? I would not let the perfect be the enemy of the good here. I mean, the reality is there are 2,561 municipalities in the state. The voice from Crafton to this legislature is not going to change their policy. This has been attempted to be passed over the decades for years. You take advantage of it when there's an opportunity to actually get something better passed. You're not going to get a perfect law. I don't think this should be something that we spend a lot of time debating. Crafton either supports it or they don't. And otherwise, they're not going to listen to a recommendation from one borough that has a recommendation. It's just not worth our time deliberating on this when it's a really minor issue for us. We would love to be able to not have to pay to advertise and be able to have control. Otherwise, and if this isn't the bill, if we don't all agree this is the right bill, don't waste our time like trying to craft some message just to not either approve it or don't. I really don't think that us deliberating on this really makes a lot of sense because we're not going to be able to affect this bill. We don't control that legislature. It's a massive legislature with lots of input. And they've been, like I said, they've been trying to pass this law for 30 years. I just don't know why we're getting into the minutia of this at this point. Just a thought.
I think that's a good point, and I think that honestly supports what I'm asking for here. We aren't voting to accept or deny this bill. We're simply choosing whether we as council would like to write a letter of support or not. And I am asking that if this council would like to write a letter of support, could we include some caveat saying we support it, we support it with these considerations that we would like you to continue considering the right language. We should be allowing flexibility in media types. We should be enabling digital sources to be used when there's no print, but we should be continuing to find a way to ensure that we're not penalizing those without internet, and we're not putting all of the power to control when and where notices go out solely in the hands of municipalities. Because I think that point about that the Times leader made, that allowing municipalities to handle all their publishing on their own website and in their own borough buildings means that there is no oversight in how things are actually handled or archived. And Crafton can pledge to be responsible, but if we are supporting a bill statewide, I think we should be encouraging them to use language that doesn't allow a lack of transparency.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think transparency is the right word because basically this is making announcements about things that are happening, like changes of meetings or ordinance is being passed. I think saying that the requirement right now is paper, that people must buy a newspaper, have a subscription to get those notices, that's all anybody has to do, is actually extremely unfair. And assuming that people don't have digital access or can't get on the internet and or come to the borough building, I mean, that's a stretch. We put all of our minutes, everything is out there, social media, savvy citizen, all of that. And to Jim's point, you can't do 100% of the population, but as it is now, we are running into May. And we need to support two bills possibly that are out there that move this forward into the 21st century. And I think joggling or wasting more time on trying to craft it perfectly after legislation who represent all of these states or all of these municipalities in Pennsylvania, I think we just need to support both and move on. Is my recommendation, and not try to make very specific things around print media, which is requiring people to purchase a paper. That probably, if they can't get internet service, they're not buying a paper and being able to afford that. And the paper will be going away in May. So they will have zero access to anything. And then we're going to require them to buy the Trib. So we have to look at Crafton and say, this is what Crafton supports, and be done. So I'd like to propose that we, as the bills are 1291 and 194, that we move forward to support both of those so that they can get passed, or at least showing that Crafton supports them. So anybody else have an opinion? There's not an ordinance or anything that we have to, or a resolution that we have to pass for this.
So we are being asked to do this by who?
We received, I sent everybody the email, so.
By the COG.
Yeah.
right?
No, the
It was
Allegheny League of Municipalities.
Alon. Yeah, that was for Senate bill. So these other ones have been out there for some time. And they've been at different meetings where they've said we're sponsoring it, and they've either failed or fizzled out. And I think they're looking at, so when they go to propose legislation, they can say these municipalities have written letters of support, and that's how these things go.
Can I make one suggestion?
Yeah.
Okay. If again, taking this from more of a bigger point of view, it sounds like a lot of folks believe that there needs to be modernization of the public notice provision. So, you could just, your letter could be, these bills aren't perfect, but we support the idea of modernization. And that's, really it, right? That there's other options besides a print newspaper, and let them figure it. And then you guys are on record as saying, figure it out, right? That's really what you wanted them to do. Make a change. These bills probably aren't perfect, either one of them. But if you believe that, you should tell your legislatures as a council that we support modernization of public notices. And I think everybody can support that. At least it sounds like it based on folks' comments over the last few meetings. So again, not endorsing either necessarily, but just saying we support modernization. We recognize there's multiple bills. We leave that to you, but we want you to know that we don't like the fact that we're stuck with just the print media.
I'm in support of the solicitor's recommendation.
Others?
Yeah, I agree. And I agree. We don't spend much more time on this.
Okay, well, that's a majority. So we're moving on. Okay, manager's report.
Yeah, actually, we're gonna move. Michael Roberts is online.
Oh.
On group. And
Oh,
I didn't think we had connected, so I saw that he was, and I emailed him as soon as I realized that he was. We dropped off right after, but he's here. So, Michael, can you promote him to talk? We have just Michael, so you already understand. We did discuss this at the last meeting, so they generally have an idea of what this is. But if you want to give a brief overview, we did hire you in I think 2021 or 22 to do the Comcast review for us. So the borough has had some experience with it, but none of the council members, except for maybe, I think, John, you were here, weren't here during that. So if you want to give a brief example or a description of what it is, and then they can ask questions if they have any questions.
Sounds great. Before I start, can you hear me okay?
Yes, you can, you're clear as day.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for having me. By way of introduction, again, my name is Mike Roberts. I'm an attorney with the Cohen Law Group. We're a firm based in Pittsburgh that specializes exclusively in representing local governments in telecommunications matters. So that includes cable, wireless, and broadband primarily, as well as a number of kind of peripheral issues that arise in the local government sphere. We only represent local governments. We do not represent the telecommunications companies themselves. I always like to make that clear. And I'm here tonight to talk about the potential of our firm representing the borough in Verizon franchise renewal. It sounds like everyone's looked at the proposal. There's been some discussion so you know that it is intended to be a multi-municipal effort, right, on behalf of the COG, who we've represented quite a few times over the years in negotiations with both Verizon and Comcast, most recently Comcast. But just to give a quick background of the kind of the law that we're dealing with here, as well as what we're proposing. I know you have a full agenda, so I'll keep it brief. Cable franchising conceptually is governed really by federal law. There's a piece of federal legislation called the Cable Act that's a few decades old now that established the idea that local governments are permitted to enter into and really required to enter into franchising agreements that are at their core authorizations for cable companies to utilize the public rights of way, to run, their cable infrastructure, fiber infrastructure in the public rights of way. And in exchange for that, as the borough is acting essentially as kind of a landlord of the public rights of way, you are entitled to a fair rate of return for that use. And that rate of return takes the form of what's called a franchise fee. And under federal law, that fee is permitted to be up to 5% of a cable operator's gross revenues. And that percentage can vary not only in the amount, you can charge 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5% or no franchise fee at all, but also in the way in which you define gross revenues under the agreement itself. And then along with the compensation components of the agreement, there's also all of the other issues that you deal with as a local government with your cable operator, including, what their construction process looks like, what their customer service requirements are, what privacy requirements are in place, legal protections, including insurance and indemnification, as well as the enforceability of the agreement, because an agreement, as you all know, I'm sure, is only as valuable as your ability to enforce it. So all of this kind of falls under the auspices of this cable franchise agreement. And Verizon currently holds an agreement with the borough. It's actually expired right now. It expired on November 23rd of last year. So it is high time to renegotiate a renewal of that agreement. And that renewal process is also governed by and kind of procedurally set by federal law, that same Cable Act. And it involves two components. The first is a review of the cable operator's past performance under the terms of the current agreement. So that would be, looking at whether Verizon has complied with everything they're supposed to under the terms of the current agreement. Most importantly, and at the core of this whole process, again, is their accurate payment of the franchise fee, and then making a determination of the borough's future cable-related needs. Both of those are prescribed by federal law. So what we're proposing under the project, and for those of you, it sounds like maybe one or two of you who were here for the Comcast renewal, this may sound familiar. What we propose is a two-step project, right? First being a comprehensive franchise fee audit of Verizon, in which we delve into their kind of granular financial records to confirm that they have accurately paid the franchise fees that are due, that they're including all of the revenues that they're supposed to in that gross revenues total from which the franchise fee is taken. We also look at kind of other issues in that area, notably a review of the cable operators list of addresses within the borough to whom they potentially provide service, because at times we'll find that those lists are kind of maintained inaccurately, which can result in franchise fee underpayments. And if there's any underpayments discovered, we would assist with the recovery of those underpayments as well. And then contemporaneously with that audit, we also, of course, negotiate the actual franchise renewal agreement, similarly to how we handle handled the Comcast renewal. We use what's called the informal process. There's a formal and an informal process. The informal process is really just your kind of straightforward contract negotiation. Nothing with Verizon is as straightforward as we'd like it to be, but nonetheless, that is the least or the less formal of the two options. The formal process being reserved for, you know, really contentious negotiations with some kind of sticking point issue. We of course reserve our rights to utilize that should we need to, but this would be handled primarily and most likely under the informal process. I want to note that despite our proposing this process as a multi-municipal negotiation through the COG, there are currently 6 municipalities who are up for renewal. 2 have engaged us so far, with potentially the borough to be the 3rd. Each municipality will get their own individual agreement at the end of the day. You're not beholden to your fellow COG members' priorities or negotiating preferences. So there will be a borough-specific agreement at the end of the day. One thing I want to note about the approach, the fee structure here, again, this may be familiar from Comcast for those of you who were here for that. When we do these multi-municipal negotiations, there's a negotiating benefit to the borough in terms of kind of pooling your resources and your strength with the rest of the COG, but also there's a financial benefit. You know, we offer discounts on our standard flat fee rate based on the number of municipalities that do engage the firm. So right now, we are at the 2 to 3 municipality range, which affords a 10% discount. Assuming there are 4 to 6 that will engage us, which we think is very likely, that will increase to a 15% discount on the total flat fee. So just wanted to note that that's on the last page of the proposal, kind of a breakdown of all of the fees proposed. But with all of that said, my brief overview may be a bit longer than I intended, but happy to answer any questions any of you on council have.
Michael, you had said there were 2 items. One was the audit of the Verizon homes and everything else. What was the second one?
Negotiations.
Right.
Second
Okay.
is the actual negotiation. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought, but
Yep.
you didn't designate that. Okay.
I have a question. Did we have an audit done on Verizon in the past?
I don't know whether we had one done on Verizon, but I do know we had one done on Comcast.
Yes.
Yep.
My reason for asking that, and maybe you can answer this, that is this based on basically infrastructure, and how much will infrastructure change?
So, in a sense, yes. So if we're talking about the audit specifically, the audit is based strictly on the revenues derived within the borough, right? So it's strictly a question of how much money does Verizon make off of your residents, and then we take a percentage of that as the franchise fee. In terms of the actual infrastructure, you know, for the most part, the systems are fairly well built out. If there's new builds, new subscribers, there is construction that's ongoing throughout the term of the franchise agreement. But large scale construction projects for the time being are unlikely unless there is, and this does happen at times, kind of a larger network overhaul project, in which case, you know, they could be replacing the entirety of the network if technology changes during the term.
So the kind of the agreement that we're talking about tonight, is this for the analysis and the renegotiation of the franchise? Okay, the franchise agreement. So I'm seeing yes. Do we, and so, okay, so this $9,000-ish would cover both of those things. Does that mean we interface with you all to help guide that negotiation if we had a change or something to the franchise agreement we felt was needed?
Correct. Yeah. So we would deal with each municipality individually. We wouldn't deal directly with the COG director or anything like that. I would, you know, assuming I'm the attorney that handles it, I would speak directly with the borough and you would see your own draft agreement from the start, and we could make any of those changes kind of again, interfacing directly with you as much or as little as you would like to.
Did council get a copy of the agreement we're proposing we enter?
I think
In the
I put it
motion?
on the drive, but I'll have to double check. I'll make sure you get.
Because I was looking, yeah, I was
It would have
looking.
not on this meeting, it would have been on the
Right.
last.
Okay, that might be on me then, not noticing.
But I can send it if I did not send it.
No internet connection.
So I'm looking through the last couple of meetings and I don't know. But I see it in there.
Or not, but I can definitely forward it to you. Can do that right now.
I know that there's if there is a dispute with Verizon, is there the lawyers help with that as part of this, or does that fall within the $350 additional fee, $350 per hour additional fee?
Yeah, so it's a great question. It would depend on the nature of the dispute, right? So obviously in the negotiation, they're not going to accept everything we propose. So any dispute that's within that negotiation process falls within the flat fee, as well as, the audit process. If we perform the audit and we find what we think is an underpayment and Verizon disagrees with it, we will always, work toward resolving that disagreement under the flat fee. If it were to go to, litigation or something above and beyond, at that point, we would go into the hourly rate. With that said, we never would go into the hourly rate without expressly informing you that we would intend to do so. It wouldn't be a surprise of any kind. We would need your written consent to do so. And it's exceedingly rare that we would do that. I think in my decade plus at the firm, it's been, 3 or 4 times, and it's always very, very unique circumstances.
So it sounds like Verizon is pretty cooperative with you guys when you find errors.
Very rarely are they cooperative with us, but we always are able to resolve our disputes without heading into any sort of litigation issues or anything like that.
Questions? Mr. Roberts, now you said that the 89.95 could be discounted if we would join plus another borough.
So to be clear, the single municipality flat fee for the borough would have been $10,500 under our standard fee. If we get to the 4, it would be the $8,900. I think at the 2 to 3, it would be $9,400. So the $8,900 would be that discounted 15% rate.
Yeah, I think when I talked to, the reason I put 89.95, I'm pretty sure Dan thought that they were going to get another one.
Okay.
So I wrote that with that assumption. I thought at that time he sounded like he was pretty certain he was going to get another one, but maybe he didn't, or maybe he's less certain now. I don't know.
Yeah, we're just still in the process of putting the group together. I think it's still likely that we would hit the 4, at least 4, maybe 5 or 6 still.
Okay.
So I have another question. Do you go back and look at bills for 10 years, but you're able to recoup savings going back 4 years? That's one question. Well, there's 2 questions in there. And the other one is that how much effort does the borough staff have to put into providing bills to you? That's another question. What you expect from the borough?
Absolutely, and two great questions. In terms of how far back we go, that's governed by the agreement itself. I believe under these agreements we look at 5 years of payments. That's what we call the look back period. It's just a contract term that was negotiated into the current agreement. So we would be permitted to look at those 5 years. In terms of what we would need from borough staff, the only thing we ask of the borough is to help with that homes pass list review, the addresses, strictly because that needs to be compared against, a complete list of addresses from the borough. It's typically your tax roll, right? And that can be, A, it can be sensitive, and B, it's just something that having someone with a kind of a more intimate familiarity with the borough streets can be helpful. We do not need any information from the borough in terms of past payments, anything like that. All of that we get from Verizon through a formal legal request. So we wouldn't need, if they couldn't find a single quarterly report or anything, we would be able to get it all from Verizon. We're not asking any of that of the borough. It's all disclosed by Verizon.
And for what he does require, we have in a file that is, well, it's a Chris Mudd, 5 minutes to set, so it's pretty simple.
Any other questions?
What was the modified amount?
It's either gonna be eight, depending on how many they get, it's either 89.95 like it's listed. Or if they don't get any others, it's gonna be 94.95, so $500 more. If they don't get additional folks.
So we do have a motion on the agenda.
I have one more question. Is there a back of the envelope type calculation we can do for what we think we may be saving?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, just so you know, I can give you, we have spent in the last 5 years, I don't know how long our current agreement is, but in the last 5 years of that agreement, we've this past year, we spent $32,000. We got $32,000 from Verizon, and that's been slowly creeping down. So I would imagine that it's at least $150,000 over that 5 year period, and probably closer to like $180,000 over that 5 year period. So this is about 5%, 5-ish% of that total, like a little less than 5% of that total is what this is going to cost us.
I guess to piggyback the Comcast side, so we've had an experience here, maybe, and I don't know if Michael can say, what has been the savings recouped or the additional revenue recouped from the Comcast audit?
I am not sure offhand what that number would be from the Comcast negotiation.
Okay.
Is regardless of who does the review and analysis, is it correct that we would need to do one and negotiate a new contract, whether it was with Cohen Law Group or whether it was with the solicitor's firm or someone else? Is that accurate?
Yeah,
You need a lawyer to do it, yeah.
No matter what, it would need a lawyer, and it has to be done. Is that?
Yes.
Yep.
At the very least, the renegotiation of the agreement
Yeah.
is done, not necessarily the audit.
correct.
I don't want to do it.
And Steve's made that
No.
clear a few times.
All right. Any other questions? Good discussion. So there's a motion on the agenda that says motion to authorize the borough to enter into an agreement with Cohen Law Group to review and analyze the Verizon contract at a cost, I would probably say up to $9,495 instead of what's written on here.
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Marks,
Second.
Mr. Hope. Any further discussion or questions?
I just have one comment is that I would hope in the future that we are not having motions right after a presentation, that we have a presentation, then we have to make a decision right after we're getting information like 5 minutes ago. I think it would be better that we have the presentation, then we get a chance to discuss it a little bit and do some due diligence before we go into a motion. Just a comment.
Yeah.
I mean, we can table it if you want time to read over the agreement and stuff. I know that we just got it. I took a quick glance and it looks pretty straightforward, but like I don't have a problem with tabling it as long as it's not urgent that we get this past this meeting.
I don't think it's urgent that we pass it this meeting. We could easily move it to the next meeting if that's more comfortable for everyone.
We have a motion on the table right now.
Sure. Well, sure. So we're still in discussion. Does anybody else want time to digest this? I guess. I know Greg does.
I'm not against it, but necessarily need it.
I mean, you can make a motion to table, Greg, if you want to do that. We can vote on that too.
Well, can you make a motion to table in the middle of a motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Greg can.
Okay.
I've actually gone through it pretty well. I'll leave it out as it is. I will not table it. But I'll just in the future, I think that we should really look at making sure that we don't put motions right up against the back of new information.
And remember, this was on the agenda last meeting, so it was put in place at the last meeting too.
Yeah, we didn't have a presentation though.
Mhm. Exactly. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, that was president's report, mayor's
Thank you,
report
Michael.
we did. Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Solicitor's report and now the manager's report.
Okay, so been a messy start. Sorry about that. All right, first thing, the trail study, the final edits have been made to the well, final edits are made. The trail committee has these final edits as well, and I haven't gotten comments back from anybody from that committee. I'll re-email them again. I gave it to everybody here, so you all have a physical copy of it. I separated it into the plan itself and the appendix. The plan is much smaller than, if I gave it all together, you'd think it's a monster plan. It's really not that big. A lot of it is like engineering drawings and whatnot. But you'll have a chance to review it. We are going to do a we're still looking at doing a public outreach session to release it in March. I'm waiting for comment back from our DCNR rep. Larry and I have both contacted her, but I think she's in her busy season, so we haven't heard back from her. But once we get confirmation about timing on when we need to approve it and all that, we'll update everybody on that moving forward. Next thing on my list here is disposition of police records. According to Commonwealth requirements, this is something that we've done pretty much every year I've been here. This is just us going through and cleaning out records that we have that are expired or not useful to the borough. There is a very detailed, we have a municipal records manual that's produced by the state, by the Commonwealth, that tells us what items we're allowed to throw away and what items we're not allowed to throw away and what time periods we're allowed. There were, as you can see from the list the resolution on the drive, we have documents from 1973 that have not, complaints that haven't been dealt with. We have records from the 80s and 90s. And so the list is on the resolution, but we do recommend that we can get rid of these documents. And they will be destroyed. They'll either be shredded or burned so that they're not able to be viewed by anybody else. But with that, I'd like a motion to approve resolution 2026-02, allowing for the disposition of police records according to the Commonwealth standards.
So moved.
Mr. Marks?
Second.
Mr. Hof? You'll have to get later. All right, any questions or discussion?
So is this just the case that we found a bunch of boxes of stuff somewhere from the 70s and 80s? And like, I guess I imagine if this is something we were doing every year, it would just be like, hey, we only have to retain trying to
Right. It is something that has just been neglected over the years, and it's one of the initiatives of the new chief and the officers who are taking responsibility for it. And there's, as you can tell if you look at the list, there's a lot, and I think we'll be having more of these over the coming months as well.
There are still several that will come from the administration as well. We have done most of the cleaning out of the offices in the physical building, but there are some documents that we have known existed that are in a shipping container down by Public Works. So we're also going to take a look at those as soon as we can and get those dispossessed as well.
And clarify for me again, you said they were going to get rid of them. How?
We either shred them or burn them.
Like we'll handle shredding them?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Is that opposition or aye?
That was an aye.
Aye, okay, thank you. All right.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes. The next item, 30 Elmwood, just really no update here. We're just waiting on all the final details and the funding and the approvals from the county on the demolition process for 30 Elmwood, which was a house that burned down. No update on that, but we will be hopefully hearing more by the next meeting. The next is just some information about the emergency snowstorm response. Again, thank you to the public for your patience as we dealt with that. And a huge thank you to Public Works and to the police department for all they did during that storm, and our EMS and fire as well. Many were called out for issues around that. We did have a debrief, as Mr. Wozniak suggested, with Public Works and the police chief last Monday. And we got some really good information and some ideas on how we're going to plan moving forward. We will make it more of a point to declare an emergency according to the code. It does help with the ability to ticket and remove cars that are improperly parked in snow zones. So we'll be doing that. Salt supply update. This, I'm sure if you pay attention to the news, you've all heard about this. Our salt supplier has Compass Minerals has still not delivered our next order of salt. We do have enough for a small storm or two, but we don't have much beyond that. So we're waiting for 250 tons to be delivered. And we're working on reviewing the contract and making sure that we can recoup any costs that are allowed by the contract. But we haven't dug into that yet, but we will be doing that very shortly. And at the next, hopefully at the next meeting, I'll be able to give a pretty comprehensive cost of this snowstorm to the borough, but we're estimating it to have cost at least around $50,000 between overtime and salt and materials that wouldn't have been expected in a normal year. So that is that response. If you have any questions, looking no. Okay, if you do, let us know. We talked about this at the last meeting, the satellite county office. The county has been notified that the borough would like to have them be stationed at the borough once a month. That'll provide really nice opportunities for borough residents to get dog tags or pay their bills or anything that the county normally handles. So that is a nice feature that they're rolling out this year, and they have around other areas of the county right now. The next issue is something that came up as a request from Crafton Heritage, the historic group that is run here that many of you are familiar with here in town. They would like to have alcohol at one of their events at the end of March. And so the Communications and Recreations Committee considered this, and we discussed it. Basically, right now, we do not allow alcohol at any events or on grounds. So we had a discussion about that. We did reach out to our solicitor for advice on that. And we asked our insurance provider as well. Our insurance provider said that we can do it. It doesn't really add any cost to our insurance. And our solicitor confirmed that, but also there is an additional risk involved if something happens related to that alcohol consumption. We are generally immune to a lot of these types of lawsuits, but if it is directly related to that consumption and we've allowed it, it does put us at a little more risk. So the recommendation is to allow it on a case-by-case basis like this, requiring council to approve it. So you would have to come before council or ask council to approve it. And then we'll ask for an additional deposit. The suggestion was that we ask for $500 deposit so that if any damage occurs or whatnot, that we're covered. And then we're also ask whatever group wants to do this, that they indemnify us on their insurance so that we're protected and we can move forward. I didn't put a motion on here, but if people are comfortable with that, I can let Crafton Heritage know that we will put this into official policy later as a resolution. But they are doing this at the end of March and would like to advertise. So if we can get kind of a head nod approval of that this is something that you guys would be comfortable with, then we can do that. Otherwise, we can wait and do a more formal motion at the next meeting, or we can even add it to our fee structure and our rental, our rental arrangement and repass that resolution. That's up to you, but that's where we're at. I want to make sure that let's see if there's any discussion or concerns or thoughts about that.
Okay.
So I'm fine with it. If we had not, and you're gonna the hope is that we pass whatever changes before the event, but they can go ahead and advertise.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically is what
Sure.
we would basically update the fee schedule resolution with this, with that deposit laid out and the information about them being required to indemnify us. And we'll go from there.
And Steve, don't we, because we don't have a license, so aren't there requirements like they can't sell it? It's all sorts
Will
of,
be included in the
okay,
fee resolution.
right,
Or the permit, we could put those terms on there.
okay.
I have one question about the indemnification, Steve. If it's a small group that doesn't have insurance, how can they indemnify us and we actually know that we're covered?
They would, I mean, if
Is
they
it that
have
home-
insurance, they're indemnifying us with their organization and whatever.
The
Funds-
waiver that can be signed.
Or they would have to reach out to an insurance company and ask you to.
Yeah,
pay for it
'cause you can
separately.
get like a policy for the day.
Yeah.
If you're having an event like that. I've done it with organizations I've been involved with before, that you don't carry that all year long, you just get a rider for the day.
Right.
I don't know if that small group could do that or what that would cost, but that's an option. I think if they are unable to add you to it, that's one of the considerations as council that you would have to think through when they make their presentation or application for that special permit. Right? Should we let them do it? They don't have insurance. They're not really organized. They don't have a bank account with much money, that kind of thing. Generally, we'll be immune from most things, but there are exceptions to that. And they're, you know, I sit and think all day about all the terrible things that could happen. And this is one where there's a lot of terrible things that could happen and could expose us. So this is a situation where you really don't want to approve a special permit without those kinds of protections. Otherwise, you know, our insurance will probably be on the hook. It could, if it's covered, insurance loves to deny coverage and you gotta fight the insurance carrier. And those kinds of things end up impacting us, even if we have insurance coverage, through the increasing premiums. And that's what they do. When you have claims, they get the money back. It's just not right away. They increase your premiums. So I've seen it not because of an alcohol related issue, but because of other type claims. So those are the bigger risks. And as I wrote to Jim, that this is one of those things that you really want to button it up. You don't want to say, oh, it's okay. It's just, you know, Joe's group and they're so nice and, you know, you don't want to do it.
So there's a difference, like Crafton Heritage probably has insurance, I would assume. But if it's Joe Smith, who's just having a party, 40th anniversary or something, or a wedding, and they come in, they're not, could it go against their homeowner's insurance, or they would need a general liability?
Usually it's organizations only, but I mean, they may be able to get a policy for the day and that would be fine too. But they'll have to shop, would talk to their broker.
Okay. So the decision for today is there's no resolution. It would be, do we feel like allowing Crafton Heritage without having anything in place to have, and this,
Or to at least advertise it. We'll get a resolution set up with all the appropriate rules in place by the next meeting and we can.
So we can
Approve it,
require them to adhere to those rules and regulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're gonna have to they're gonna have to indemnify us and provide a deposit. And that if I get a head nod today and they decide that they don't want to do it because they don't want to spend that money or give us that deposit, then we've lost nothing. We've passed a policy that maybe will affect somebody else. But at least it gives them the opportunity, if they want to advertise it today or soon, so that they're, you know, saying it's gonna be again, it's a BYOB. They're not allowed to sell alcohol. They're only allowed to have it at the event. So
if there is children at the event too.
Yeah, they would be responsible for
Okay.
ensuring that. That's part of the agreement, right? Then they have to make sure that they aren't serving underage folks, that they are making sure that they're paying attention to folks. And if someone is, you know, visibly under the influence, to ensure that they aren't served any further or they're alcohol,
Okay.
take it from them, that sort of thing. So
That's all in there.
they
Okay.
will need
good.
to do that.
Okay. Any thoughts? Any other thoughts?
Jim's basically gonna tell them, if you give them a head nod, that it seems like council's okay with this, right? But the devil's in the details, and if you want to advertise, you can. But it's really, there's a risk for them to advertise and then it doesn't happen, or they choose not to, so they'll have to decide, but it's their decision. He's just gonna give them a sense of if you guys are open to this possibility.
So can I get a thumb up for the most part from everybody, or is it concern or, yeah? No,
Yep.
okay. Kirsten, are you, can you give me a head?
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay,
And I believe we're saying okay with a rider, is that correct?
yeah, basically, we're saying, okay, I'll let him, let Crystal know that they're most likely gonna approve it, but they're gonna have to have a deposit and they're gonna have to indemnify us, and we're gonna give you a more formal thing once we pass a resolution. And then if they decide that they don't want to do that, then that's up to them. They're taking the risk by advertising, because I can't guarantee that you guys will pass what we do, but I can at least, most likely you will, so, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'm sure they do too. The last thing on my piece of the agenda is we had an Alcoasand meeting last week. As many of you know, we transferred intermunicipal trunk lines, two very significant trunk lines, sewer lines essentially to Alcoasand. The one running down Steuben that carries sanitary as a combined sewer is now owned by Alcoasand. So if issues happen with that, we have numbers to call for Alcoasand. You can still call us first, but we're gonna put you on to Alcoasand as soon as you call, once we realize what line it is. And then there's also a line running down the other side of the shopping center, and it flips back and forth between Ingram and Crafton. That line is also now owned by Alcoasand. They met with us, talked to Dave, Rob, and Bill from our Public Works crew. They've been here the longest, really understand it. So we had a good conversation with some lunch, and talked about how we're going to work together on maintaining those sewers that are now owned by us. I just want to give everybody an update on that. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Engineers report, Mr. Keenan.
Good evening. First item on the engineer's report is the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project. There are multiple areas of construction ongoing with this project. They include sewer construction on Broadhead Avenue. Curb and sidewalk reconstruction on Warren Street is wrapping up. And Park Street sewer construction and Coulter Street curb and sidewalk work has also begun. Closure of the trail portion is still in effect until final restoration takes place. The expected project completion is still slated for October this year, 2026. And we are still having the weekly contractor meetings, and updates to the Borough construction webpage are ongoing. I want to also add another note to this that's not on here. Just want to note that the contractor up to this point in the project has filed change orders on a couple things that have been denied by Gateway, seeking claims under the contract. And right now we are working through that process with Gateway and the solicitor. Next is the Pring Street Sewer Project. Right now we are just waiting on the city to approve resolution for that. C20 sewer separation. The update here is that a site visit occurred on yesterday, the 25th, to develop the final punch list that was postponed due to the weather that we encountered Tuesday night. But right now we are looking to reschedule that as soon as next week. Next is the Public Works Building. Interior construction continues with electrical and plumbing components. Upcoming work also includes drywall and finalizing the utility connections as soon as the weather improves. Public utility work installations are ongoing, and the overall project completion date is still to be determined until the utilities have been connected. Beyond the 2026 Crafton sewer system repairs, operations and maintenance, O&M. This project is currently out to bid. Again, this contains two contracts, one for excavation, which involves 7 repairs, and one contract for manhole to manhole lining, which includes 16 repairs. And final note that the bid opening is March 4th and that the contract awarding is slated for March 12th. Next is the Noble in the Wood Parks. This is a $500,000 project backed by DCNR, and it includes a $250,000 grant and a $250,000 match. We will be having an open house next Wednesday on March 4th, 2026, in the community room beginning at 6 p.m. to those that are interested. Community members will have an opportunity to review the design options being presented. Next is Ewing Road. Right now, the goal is to repair the immediate areas of road subsidence, and noting that the project is also currently out to bid. The bid schedule for this included advertisements on February 26th and again on March 5th. The pre-bid meeting will be on March 10th, opening bids April 2nd, council award April 9th, and notice to proceed is slated for April 27th. Next is the Crafton Boulevard Improvements Project, which is backed by an LSA grant for $120,000 and consists of improvements that will include new lighting, additional trees, and an EV charging station in the elementary school parking lot. That is also currently out to bid. And the bid schedule for that includes advertisements that were sent on February 26th and again on March 5th, pre-bid meeting on March 10th, opening bids March 19th, council award March 26th, and notice to proceed April 27th. Next item is the Crafton Elementary Boulevard Streetscaping Project. This is a recently acquired $1.39 million grant and includes the addition of a divider, providing a protected bus lane in front of Crafton Elementary while improving traffic flow. Planning will begin with the school in the city of Pittsburgh this summer, with construction planned for next year, 2027. Next item is the 2026 CCTV project. Just noting that the contract was renewed. We did have a pre-con meeting done on February 6th, and right now we're still waiting to receive the start date for this. But a reminder that the project is done to determine sewer conditions and if repairs are needed. Also want to note that there is light sewer cleaning also done when this work is carried out. Next is the 2026 road paving and brick plan priority. The 2026 Brick Street repair project. The update is that we have received signed contract documents from the contractor. Construction will begin in April 2026. Project involves priority areas including Brick Street, curbs, infrastructure, and concrete header repairs. And the impacted streets included are as follows: Clearview Avenue at Middle Street intersection and 3 other areas along Clearview. North Grandview Avenue in front of addresses number 8 and number 10. Bar Avenue around the manhole in front of 1769 Bar. Belvedere Street in front of 82 Belvedere. And also this is the road paving as part of the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project. Reminder of streets included in this are Crafton Boulevard between Broadhead and Trail Entrance, Broadhead Avenue, Warren, Park, Coulter, Cornell Avenue, and North Linwood will get brick trench repair, and also North Emily Street and Belvedere Street. And the last item is reserved for permit applications, which are newly received permit applications for street utility work in the borough, and none have been received to be reported this evening. Questions on any items? That concludes the engineer's report for this evening.
A lot going on. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Keenan. Good work. Community and Economic Development Director's report, Mr. Tedesco.
Yeah, good evening. I'm less busy than Larry, so my report is a little shorter. 82 Belvedere, thank you Solicitor Corbell for reviewing the very thick pile of listing paperwork that comes with listing the property and getting it on the MLS.
I looked at it more closely than when I bought and sold my own house.
Yes. A lot of that paperwork is the disclosure sheet, which allows the seller to identify all of the liabilities associated with the property. So as you can imagine, pretty much every box is checked on that disclosure. Jim and I were kicking this around a sticker price. We were figuring $49.9, right around over under a 50. And that should make us whole for sure. and give us a little space to negotiate, depending on who comes in. So probably early next week, it will go live. I'm figuring I gotta chase down Jim for a bunch of signatures, but that's really the final step. Oh, I should also mention, and in Steve's office, Anna Hosak tracked this down. We are due to appear in court in April to update the judge on this as well. So that timing is actually pretty good because we'll be through on MLS process and we'll have a good sense of who we're going to dance with here. Item B, the summer intern. So our friends at Local Government Academy, LGA, I thought we were VIP members there, but we actually got rejected by them because they had high demand for intern applications. And as you know, they pay the bulk of the internship expenses. So I can see why there's high demand. So they brought in some new communities this year and left out some older communities this year. So
You're going. What are you doing? You're going. Was it you? Yeah, because you go to the LGA Academy, so.
yes, we do have an alternative. Jim, what does WAPOM?
It's the Western Pennsylvania Western Association of Professional Municipal Managers.
Thank you. They also have an intern program that is also mostly free. Vast majority is paid for by them. We applied for their internship program, essentially the same application to LGA, which is helping to stand up the Trails Committee, get that thing really moving, as well as some street analysis for brick streets and stuff like that. So they'll be out in the field and having fun, the intern will, if we're accepted. And there's a ghost note on here. Item C just came in 2 business days ago. It does not require formal council business, but you have a memo in front of you, and I will share the screen so everybody at home can see. The land bank, Tricog Land Bank came in with a proposed property list for our review. And here's the memo. I took pictures, so I pulled it up. You can see the list of 5 properties on there, and I'll show everybody pictures here. And we'll just walk through it really quick, and I'll get your take if there's any fatal flaws on this or any feedback you might have whatsoever.
Keep in mind too, we let them know that we removed 3.
At least 3, yeah.
But so they came with a list and we confirmed it versus our list. And so we have already cleaned this list up from ones that the borough wouldn't want to take. Or we're already, like one of them was 8 people over here, which clearly we're already doing, and things like that.
They have 50,000.
Exactly. So you can see 37 Thomas. It is the vacant lot right here down on Thomas Street.
So that one is a vacant lot. It's not the yellow house. It's the vacant lot.
The vacant lot, correct. Yes.
Is it the one where there's a squatter on Thomas?
Yeah, I don't think that's the right, I think that's the wrong side of the street. I think 37 is on.
Really?
Yeah, I think you might have grabbed the wrong.
It's a vacant lot. I mean,
It is.
that's-
It's one of the duplexes. 37. You got. I think you.
It's on the other side.
Yeah, you pulled up
I
30.
was gonna say.
I think that's like 38.
Okay.
Or actually, yeah. But anyway, it's actually on the opposite side of the street. It's one of the. And for those of you who've been on Thomas Street, they're like smaller houses that are attached. And it's one side of one of those attached houses. It's
Okay.
37 Thomas.
Yeah, I think 30,
I didn't notice this. I would have said that when I saw it.
30 Thomas is the empty lot.
Yeah.
It looks like.
Yep.
37, I think, has the squatter in it, and that's the neighbor that's attached to them is very upset
Oh,
about.
it's been an issue for a long.
Yes, and she's made it clear that it's a very high risk, people coming in and out, and it was supposed to be that.
Let's say, well, this is going well for me. Let's
Yeah.
see if we got 164 Fountain.
Yeah.
Here's 164 Fountain. As you can see, that's kind of a nice looking piece of property, actually.
And then neighbor is Officer Lapel, who's been very interested in this property being taken care of. So perfect.
Perfect. Let's see if I get this one right, because it's another empty lot. 162 Fountain. From Google Street View, it's a bush, but it is a empty lot. And it technically has no address, so I'm calling it 162 Fountain. And here we go, 255 Clearview, the big house right in the center. Pretty big property. Down on Clearview. And then finally, we all know and love 64 South Grandview. This is the place behind the trees where the backside is falling down the hill. The quadplex. So that is potentially some pretty reasonable tax money back on the tax rolls. That gets fixed up.
This is the one up for demolition and then it did not make the
It
list.
had been up for demolition.
Yeah.
We've reviewed it though, and we do not think it needs to be demolished. It has
Okay.
I think falling down the hill is what people say. It is not falling down the hill.
Mhm.
And that's
Isn't there like a hole? the
There's a
size
hole
of
in one of the
human
roofs.
Foundation?
what's that?
Isn't there a hole the size of a human in the
No,
foundation?
not in the foundation. No, there is cracked foundation in the back, but it's not as bad as we had a structural engineer look at it.
Hmm.
So it's and it is probably repaired $800,000 property. So it would be ideal if we could save it.
Mhm. Right.
So, and that's what we would look at them doing first, but they're interested in that program.
So any feedback on the list? Is there a priority we should communicate?
And keep in mind, this is a preliminary look.
Yes.
We have to approve their final list before they
Mhm.
are able to claim any property. So they will come back. What this is basically, we're saying, these are the ones that we would be okay with them doing. But now they're gonna do a deeper dive.
Right, and the
Yep.
deeper dive is explained in the very first paragraph in the memo, their process that they go through. All the mechanical steps.
So this, all we really need is just that there's no property on this list that you're concerned about, or if you are concerned about it, let us know. We'll kind of give them the head nod at this point to go with a deeper dive, but we're not committed to anything until we pass it through the council.
Because it's not on the agenda, then the public isn't aware of these properties being considered. That would be my only concern. Because if we had it on the agenda, we could have listed them so that if anybody wanted to come, they could talk about them and everything else.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So my recommendation, depending on timing, is that, doing the presentation again with it being on the agenda so people can come forward if they have some questions or they want to say something.
That makes sense. I think we have time. I didn't read Jim from now.
I think we do too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember. If
Shouldn't
there's
be a
a-
problem.
I don't think there's a deadline or anything.
Yeah.
We can definitely bring it, like, put this out. We can also post this. If we want, like on, on Savvy or something, or on Facebook or on the website, and saying that we're considering taking these to the land bank and go from there. Do what?
Because there may be neighbors that have questions. There could be all sorts of things where maybe an owner comes out of the woodwork potentially, and probably not.
not
They
in
would
this
have to rise
project.
from the dead in a lot of cases, but
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. But just because it's not on the agenda, I would just be very hesitant to make any decisions tonight.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah, this is for information only and your feedback. So this is why we're talking about it.
And if we could get, it might be good to get regular pictures too. So just going and snapping some pictures in front rather than the Google Maps, because this bush won't be there now. It won't be green. We'll be able to see the property a little bit better. Okay.
So, we put this back on the agenda for next meeting, people come out, whatever. Once we decide to go forward with whatever approval, at that point, is it like basically in the land bank's hands from that point on?
No, not until, they are not officially, it is not officially in their hands until they've acquired a property. So let's say we say, let's say they do the investigation and they want to try to go ahead with these ones.
Yeah.
They're gonna go ahead with their process with the sheriff's sale, and until they acquire it, it's not like a done deal, that they own it, and then they are gonna take it through the process. You're much closer once we've formally approved it. Because then Mike and I are probably not gonna be paying attention to every sheriff's sale and like saying, oh, look, we gotta stop this one now, or what have you. And then, so basically that is really the go ahead for them when we approve it. But it's not official until the sheriff's sale actually happens and they get them actually take possession of the property, then it's in their hands.
And doesn't the school district and county also have to release it?
Yep.
Okay.
Coletta has a question.
Yeah, there was one that was actually a vacant property, and I don't recall their interest in vacant property. Would it be something that they would expect to be building something on?
No, all they do is they make it easier for us to sell it. They basically take possession of
Oh, okay, got
clear
it.
and clear the title. And then they put it up for sale.
Okay,
Right now, it's probably very encumbered with lots of liens and debt, and that's why those happen, and that's why they never get sold. And then but that's typically how it's gonna happen.
There's no way to sell it, right? Because the owner
Right.
is there, so it's
Right.
never we get on the books.
Anybody could go and try to take it to a sheriff sale right now. You can do that, but you don't get the ability to wipe out all the
Wipe
liens.
all the liens.
right. And we have quite a few properties like that.
We have probably in the ballpark of 85 to 90. When we were doing zoning, we figured that out.
All right, thank you.
So like you were saying that we would approve it, they'd get to go ahead, they would do whatever investigations, and then at some point they would have to, or at least when we're reading here, they would have to mail us. They would mail us, the district and the county, notices
To approve.
to approve it. So at that point, it's like, okay, that's like the final approval per parcel or whatever. And if all three bodies agree, then it's okay, cool.
Yep.
And as a reminder, when we talked about this before, this has been one of the top resident complaints is blighted and abandoned properties, especially if you live next door to one. Because there's wildlife, there's people, there's dangers around it, and handling and dispositioning them is important.
And I've been watching in the nicer neighborhoods that they have, those properties flip fast. When they go in and clear that title, that property, as soon as they put it up for sale, it sells within days. And so the properties that you see on their website are the ones that they're having a hard time selling. Properties in Crafton are not gonna be like that. Because they're great neighborhoods, so they're gonna sell very fast, so.
So I have a question. Mike's been working on a toolbox of things that we can do with blighted properties. Have we looked at what we could do with these properties with the other tools we have?
Oh, yeah.
The conservatorship.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an option. I mean, it's just a lot more time and effort, really, staff. It's less efficient than going through the TriCog. Because TriCog will do all the work.
Right. Just wondering what the bottom line would be for them. So.
What do you mean the bottom line?
Well, the bottom line being that, it will take them off the tax rolls for whatever the TriCog, that split. What is the kind of evaluation of whether we do it with a conservatorship versus TriCog? What's it look like after 10 years? Are we below or are we above? How much did we win? How much did we lose? That way. I mean, did some sort of analysis? I know you've been working on these tools, and I'm just thinking that at some point you be able to do maybe something quick enough to give us some idea of whether or not there could be a property out there that might be really easy for us to flip and get on the tax rolls immediately for us. So I think that every one of these properties we should be looking at to make sure that it's not a better deal for the borough to handle it versus for the land bank to handle it. So I'm just asking if we are going to do that for these properties.
Well, we will, but the problem is we don't have data yet. For example, we only have a case study of one for conservatorship, and we're only 8 months into doing it, or.
Well, we started in late 24, right?
Right.
A little more than a year.
Right, so we're a year and a half, we're a little under a year and a half in. We probably won't see it flipped for another, at least probably 6 months, or a year, if they get right on it. And plus all the staff time, so we're already into this.
It's about 40K.
With $40,000 and
Steve's time.
right, and so now we'll get better at that, but we're not gonna have we probably wouldn't be able to make a good comparison for probably 5 to 10 years. because you got to compare multiple cases, and we won't have that.
Right.
We can use because conservatorship has been municipalities have almost never used it. The only municipality that has used it we have a pretty innovative manager like Dormont did, and Dormont has done about 4 or 5 properties, but doing it ourselves consumes a ton of capacity. Because we have to do all the legal work, we have to hire the attorney, we have to do everything. Whereas land bank, it's the easy button. We just say, here you go. And then they flip it and sell it to a flipper. And then that person will repair is getting a great deal because they're getting an unencumbered property. And you can talk to Matt Choate, who's on the planning commission, who does that. And, that's a pretty good option for folks. So, but we're not going to be able to make a apples to apples comparison for a while. Because we don't have the data.
The conservatorship, I don't know if I'm 100% sold on that because of what's happening in Belvedere. Like, this is our second round of going out that property, and there's a lot of
risk in the less here. But the other issue is the COG or the Tri-Cog Land Bank. I got that right. They may not take half of those. They may only take 1 or 2. So then you'll have to figure out what to do with the rest.
Right. And they're most likely probably only going to take 1 or 2. Because
that's typically how it goes.
Right.
In Forest Hills, it's usually around that. And the houses in Forest Hills sell fairly quickly as well after they get fixed. But they only take a couple. And they usually offer about 5, 6 properties. And sometimes the same property for the next year.
Right.
Please, take it, please.
Yeah.
So I think to that point, Jim, if we go forward with this at a later meeting and they come back and they want 1 or 2, I think it's reasonable to do that, to start building that case so that we can do a comparison.
Yep.
Great. All right, now we're going to go to our standing committee reports. First is Finance Administration Sustainability. Mr. Ho.
Thank you. The Finance Administration Sustainability Committee has met since our previous council meeting. We did do a final 2025 year-end financial deep dive and double check numbers and everything. And as you can see, there is a table here in the agenda that shows our 3 primary funds, the general fund, the road fund, and the sewer fund, as well as the bond fund. And it shows actual revenue, actual expenses, and net result and percentages here. So you can see the numbers for yourself. I don't need to read through them for you, but overall, we did kind of prepare some overview statements about the 2025 year-end financial summary. So overall for fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2025 and ending December 31st, 2025, Crafton Borough's overall revenue was $433,685 higher than budgeted, but overall expenses were $450,161 higher than budgeted as well. So that resulted in an overall deficit amount of $16,476. What that means, the higher than anticipated revenue amount was primarily attributed to the sewer fund. But it is also important to note that revenue from real estate taxes and garbage collection fees were a bit lower than expected as well. We have talked about the real estate taxes at length prior to this. The manager has brought that up in terms of what the trends look like across the county and lack of property assessments by the county and how those trends will continue to for lack of a better term, hurt our borough's revenue moving forward. So the higher than anticipated expense amount was primarily attributed to zoning and planning legal expenses, IT expenses, utility costs that have been going up, as everybody knows, repairs to municipal properties, O&M, operations and maintenance, sewer repairs, Alcosan charges, and a capital purchase, which was the Tarco leaf vac that had been carried over from the previous financial year, 2024. It's also important to note that a large amount of overall expense overages were offset by less road paving and less brick street repairs than we had planned for. So as we knew that there was going to be a bit of a deficit as we were going into Q4, we did make some additional adjustments to try to keep that budget keep the expenses and the revenue as balanced as possible. So I won't go into any further detail unless anybody has any specific questions about any of the actual revenue or actually any of the actual expenses from 2025 that we have here in each of the funds. But yeah, overall, the net result of everything was a deficit. So we ended up 16,476 over what we needed to be. But it's important to note, last thing is that, we do have fairly healthy reserves. So that's where those dollars come from. So if there's any questions about the 2025 year-end financials?
I will note that we actually did, and it was budgeted, we did put $325,000 in reserves last year.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. So we put money into reserves despite that.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
It's good.
So I hear you right that in Q4, we pulled some projects. And what was the value of all those projects that we pulled?
I don't have a grand total for you, but I can get that. There were things that had been on the decision list for last year. Things like we talked about some things with the community center, and there were some other projects that had been discretionary decisions for the budget that we decided, from a priority perspective, better to not do those in 2025. And many of those ended up on the decision list for 2026's budget.
And I think, are you going to talk about 2026, about the decision matrix now? Because we're already looking at it relative to the storm.
Yes.
And everything else.
So there were, as we talked about in the budget decision workshops, we had a lot of items that we then had to decide which ones were going to go on to the 2026 budget. We made some decisions on those, but they're also prioritized in terms of near-term priority, what's high-ticket items, low-ticket items, and as the year goes on, we will continue to look at those and determine which ones of those we're able to proceed with and which ones we may not be able to proceed with in order to, once again, come up with a final balanced year-end revenue and expense. The storm obviously took as I said in the finance meeting, sometimes it's better to rip that Band-Aid off as early as possible. And we did. So there's going to be some items from that decision list that unfortunately are probably not going to be able to happen here in 2026 because we spent a fair amount of money that we're going to find out from the manager. Hopefully at the next meeting, we'll know a better picture of exactly what that grand total of the storm amount was. But between road repairs, equipment repairs to a lot of public works vehicles, salt, overtime for public works, plowing things, there was a lot of expenses that we had not budgeted for. So some of our discretionary budget items that we had decided on in those public budget workshops are going to have to be reeled back a little bit. So we'll keep assessing that as the year goes on, and we'll let council know what our recommendations are and what those items are that are going to need to be reeled back. Trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible, and barely 6 weeks into the year, we're already having to make some hard decisions. So better now than in Q4. That's what I say. So, all right. If there aren't any other questions, I will move on to the only other thing in my report, which is the 2026 wage resolution. At the last meeting, we did vote on that wage resolution so that we could move forward with it, but there's still a few items on there that we need to, it needs updated. So that's what we're doing. The solicitor is going to be making recommendations on that, reviewing it. We're going to do a bit of a rewrite on that. So.
I did, yes.
Yeah, I actually got
I just got this
today or
yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I will send that up to council.
Great. So look for that to be something for consideration at a future council meeting. And if there aren't any questions, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ho. Infrastructure and land use, Ms. Compitello.
Great. I don't have a lot for today. The infrastructure committee has not met since the last council meeting. It will meet before the next one. So nothing, no major decisions to make today, just some, quick updates on ongoing items. The DCNR grant awarded, the borough was awarded $250,000 towards a $500,000 project for Crafton pool upgrades, including a new water slide, pavilion, a new bathhouse roof, AC for the concession stand, an ADA lift, and permanent concession awning. These are things that have been long desired, and so it's great to have another grant in for them. We already had previously gotten a grant of $155,000 through the county's GEDTF grant fund. We can use that 155 as part of the match. You know, this is a $500,000 project, so now basically we have 250 from one grant, we have 155 from another, and we will be left with a $120,000 match if we would like to move forward. We don't have any decisions to make today, and we will continue to have updates on that as it continues to advance.
Kirsten, can I add one thing that just popped up on Mike and I's plate over the last couple of days, so wasn't able to make it on the agenda, and that is related to this project. One of the things that is in this in the grant for DCNR is to get rental games from a company called Rent. What are they called again? They're called Rent.Fun. Thank you. That's what they're called.
I looked at that agreement.
Yeah, and the solicitors looked at that agreement. We might ask for a decision on that at the next meeting. That is a $15,000 purchase. The reason we are asking this is a couple-fold. We can get it. They're going to give us a discount to buy it now because they're already doing a project in Pennsylvania early in the spring. But the big reason we want to do it is one of the things that will be included in that is a rental. Basically, they're basically like cages that are that have equipment in them, and in this case, we're talking about bocce balls because we'd like to have this installed in time for the bocce ball release in May. So basically, you'd be able to go up, you take your smartphone, you hit a QR code or whatever the link is that they have, and you're able to rent equipment. They also do kayaks and bicycles and all that stuff. So maybe down the road we could do kayaks on Crafton on the Chartiers Creek. But for now, we'd like in the grant we had asked to do a concrete ping pong table with rental equipment, cornhole games with the rental equipment, and the bocce ball with rental equipment. In this case, we would only do the actual bocce balls, would have the bocce balls available for rental. And that way, if you're playing, if you want to go down at this May event and no one's there or the pool isn't open yet, you can just rent your own bocce balls right there on the spot and play. But we might ask to move forward with that. This is a unique grant in that a lot of this stuff might be done by different people. So we might not put out one grant, one solicitation for an RFP because, for example, Public Works might do the air conditioning installation because our Public Works foreman is an HVAC specialist, so he knows how to do that stuff. And so we might have this incorporated by multiple different people. So just a thought. We might be bringing that for approval at the next meeting. And it would be something we'd have to approve. I know, unfortunately, I'd be giving you the details that day, but this is one of those time-based things that if we want to be able to get this ready in time, we would have to bring it last second. And but
This is a grant for this.
this is not a grant. This is the material. You spend $15,000 to buy this, but it is listed in the grant, so we can get it paid for with the grant.
Okay.
$15,000 for rental equipment for the bocce court?
No, for all three of those things. Concrete, installed cornhole surfaces and playing tools, and a cage for cornhole equipment, full-size concrete ping pong table, an outdoor ping pong table with a rental equipment for that, and a bocce ball rental system. We could also just purchase the bocce ball rental system. I think it was $3,000 if I remember correctly, just for the one bocce ball thing. But if we do it all together, we get all of it for 15, which is I think we save like $4,000 or $5,000 overall if we were to install each one of those things separately. And so there'll be 3 sets of games down there that people can go play at the park anytime they want, and it's rental, and they manage everything. If those things go missing, they'll show up within a week and replace it. If the cage gets broken or something gets broken, they come back and fix it. We have no responsibilities around that. So.
Hopefully they'll accept
I
some
think we'll need to see more information about that before the next meeting. What
What's
it
that?
includes and what the costs are.
Is there a subscription fee?
Well, yes, but basically the way it works is it's part of the rental, and you have a 5-year packet, you have a 5-year agreement with them, And so if you rent them for $5 an hour, like if you rent the bocce balls for $5 an hour, they get $250 and we get $250. Now we have the ability, if we don't want to make money ourselves and we want it to be a free service or as cheap as possible for Craftonites, we can have just be their fee, which is $250 an hour. We don't get anything for it, but we have the amenity. And then they cover everything. We can't go lower than their minimal fee. And then at the end of 5 years, if not enough people have used it, we'll talk to them and they might want to pull it if they're like, look, they haven't gotten enough people to use it. No one's doing it. So we're not going to keep doing it. And I think they've only done that once, they said, in the time that they've had these things out. So
Yeah, like as an example, I was just
Share the name of the company so that we could maybe.
.fun.
rent.fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll send everybody the brochure and stuff too.
I did recommend that we not enter into a 5-year agreement. I think I suggested a 2-year agreement with 3
Option years.
Yeah, at our election, because it seemed kind of risky to go for 5 years. Like, what if nobody ever uses it and then it just sits there for 5 years?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something they do or not, but I thought that made sense until we were comfortable with it. Like 2 years seems reasonable to figure out if it's going to get used or not. So, but anyway, well, I did make a lot of changes to their agreement. So.
See what they-
And I think they might not even have been around for 5 years because it sounds like it's a
Yeah, okay.
newer product. So their retention in terms of clients may not.
Yeah.
There may not be data for that.
Can I continue my report?
Yes.
The other item for the infrastructure committee is also just another update, just ongoing update, the DCED $325,000 grant that we received for pedestrian and other business district improvements. We've been sharing information on this since last year. There have been many discussions in council. There was a survey. There have been planning commission discussions, business development subcommittee discussions. We spoke about this at the last council meeting, and I don't have any updates since. The borough engineer is going to be updating a design to bring in front of council to proceed with based on the survey feedback and the discussion at the last infrastructure committee, which basically looked over the survey results that we have from the community. People voted on whether they preferred alternative 1, 2, or 3. There was a lot of similarity between the 3, and the results from the survey were very similar between the 3. And the infrastructure committee looked at those results and then also looked at the components in each of those 3 alternatives and kind of took the long view of also looking at what are the potential constraints that might make the expenses go up and what are the long-term operational and maintenance expenses involved. We gave the borough engineer guidance to put together a final a preferred alternative that does a little bit more refined costing on all of the favored items across all 3. All very common things, very much things that community members were interested in seeing. Improvements around the circle, improvements to the sidewalks, improvements to lighting around our business district. And so the borough engineer will be doing an updated drawing with updated cost estimates that will be coming to council when that's ready for us to proceed to take formal action and proceed with going out to bid. But we don't have those yet. So that is still in progress, and that is all for my update.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Compitello. Communication and Recreation, Ms. Bullenbacher.
Thank you. I think Pam actually reported on the 80s murder mystery last week, so I'm not going to reiterate that portion of the report. Community cleanup, shred, and free swap is Saturday, April 11th. That's going to include dumpsters, shredding machines, a buy nothing, sell nothing market, and a community cleanup. I will have times for you at the next meeting. I don't have those available this evening, but that is coming on Saturday, April 11th. Same with April 25th, which is our Arbor Day Crafton Park cleanup. I will have more details with that at the next meeting. Our Felix Amendola Bocce dedication and summer kickoff will be Saturday, May 30th. Independence Day, Saturday, July 4th. Fall Fest, Saturday, September 26th. Our 21 and over Halloween mini golf is going to be a date in October, still to be determined. Our celebration of lights is December 5th, and our holiday house tour will have a return on this Sunday, December 6th. We actually are already recruiting houses for that, by the way. We already, I believe, have 5 lined up for December. So it's never too early to start planning. If you're interested in participating, or if you want to, please, we need volunteers, even just an hour or two at an event. Anytime that you can give us would be greatly appreciated. If you're interested, just go to the website, our Crafton Borough website, and let the rec board know that you're interested. You don't have to commit to a time. You don't have to commit to a date. We'll just send you emails letting you know when we need you. If you're available, say yes. If you're not, say no. But we could use some volunteers, please. Our ongoing events, mini golf will be Fridays and Saturdays, June through August, with some special pop-up dates like for the October pop-up for the over 21 and for the Memorial Day weekend. I believe we're going to have mini golf for that as well. And yoga in the park will make a return this year, Saturdays, June through September. Anybody have any questions on it?
The murder mystery was before, our council meeting was before the actual date, so Pam did, yeah. Yeah.
It was a big success. It was a sellout. I think only 2 people who bought tickets didn't show up. Apparently they were ill, but that was pretty good. That was it. That was the only people who didn't show. People came in costume or in 80s garb, which was entertaining to say the least. But overall, it was a really fun night. So
Yeah, okay.
I unfortunately had to make a slightly early exit, so I did not get to stick around to find out who actually did it, but it was a very fun evening. So thank you to everybody who came. I think that is something that we will continue doing in the future, and I do believe we're going to make them bigger because it does keep getting sold out. Even after it's sold out, people are showing interest, so I think it might be time to pull that trigger and make it a little bigger next year. So yeah. So thank you for everybody who came and everybody who helped out. That was very appreciated. Our newsletter, at this point, everybody should have gotten their newsletter. If you did not, just give us a call at the Borough. I believe we do have extra copies, plus you have the online version at our website. Feel free to take a look at it there. And I do believe our next round of articles will be due in mid-May.
Mid-April.
Late April 15th. I thought it was tax day, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, mid-April.
Yeah.
You said late April during the meeting, or we moved it, yeah.
We will be reaching out for requests for articles. Unless anybody has questions about the newsletter, that's it for my report.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Bollenbacher. The commission recruiting, Ms. Compitello.
Okay, well, current open positions as well as upcoming positions, as always, you can apply at craftonborough.gov /boards commissions. We have a number of things that will be upcoming. We'll go through the list. Zoning Hearing Board, a 3-year term alternate. There's 1 seat that is going to be expiring on December 31st, 2028. If you're interested, again, go to the Borough website to apply. We also have a spot on the Recreation Board, a 4-year term, 2 4-year terms. The first 4-year term expires February 28 of 2030. So good long 4-year term. And another one that is an ongoing term. Someone had to step down. So an ongoing term that is available to take on, that one will expire February 28, 2029. So 3 years left on that one. So 2 spots on the rec board that we are looking to fill. One spot on the library board. This is a 3-year term. It begins, so it's not yet open, but it will open shortly. This will become available on March 16, 2026. We do take applications starting a bit in advance. So that window is already open. If you are interested in applying for the library board, please put your applications in. 1 term, again, 1 spot open on the library board. Also, the Shade Tree Commission, this is a 5-year term. This one is also not yet started, but starting in March 31st will be the first day of this one. So again, applications are already active. If you're interested in being on the Shade Tree Commission, we have 1 spot available. And then finally, the Planning Commission. This will be a 4-year term. This one will not start until April 13th. So applications will open next month. Very shortly. 1 spot. This will start on April 13th, 2026 and go for 4 years. So that's 5 different sets of boards and committees that we're looking for people. Some of those already open and several of them, will be starting soon. So get your applications in, and we encourage everybody to be a participant on these if you're interested and you have time to be more involved in the community. We're always looking for volunteers. Current or upcoming positions. This is for a little bit later in the year, but these, we do try to share in advance what will be opening up later in 2026. We will have a 6-year alternate seat on the Civil Service Commission. This will be beginning in May 20th, 2026. We will then have another Civil Service Commission 6-year regular seat. First one was an alternate. This will be a regular seat, and this will be opening up in July 1st, 2026. And then third, a recreation board. We've got, again, 2 open right now, but we'll have another one that will be opening up in September, a 4-year term starting September 30th. So if you're interested in being on any of those, Civil Service Commission or the Rec Board, and you don't want to apply for the current open positions, keep an eye on those starting this summer and going into September. That is all.
Thank you, Ms. Compitello. And final, Char West Cog, Mr. Wozniak.
Yeah, hi. I was able to go to my first COG meeting representing Crafton, and that was at McKees Rocks on February 19th. And the next meeting is slated for March 19th in Green Tree, but seems like at the end of the meeting they were wavering about Green Tree, but it does sound like it's going to be Green Tree. The way these COG meetings are set up, it's my first one, so I'm going to give you a little description. You go in and there's a giant round table, and there's a representative from just about every municipality that can make it. Some have 2 or 3 people there, and the COG goes through basically what's going on in the COG itself, whether or not it's their finances or their equipment agreements or whatever. And then they do a round table. Now the round table is really interesting because every community talks about what's going on in their community, which is really helpful. And then after that, there's maybe a representative or someone from another just giving a presentation or talking about something. This meeting, there was some talk about, I think the property taxes and stuff like that in Allegheny County. And then after that, you get dinner. So it's really nice. But what I put forth to do this time, and I had John make a folder for me on the OneDrive, is that any materials I get, I'm just going to post on a OneDrive so that anybody can see them then. So you'll get the minutes, you'll get activities that everyone's talking about in the other COGs and things like that. So I mean, in the other municipalities. So that's it. Like I said, the next meeting is in Green Tree on March 19th, and I'll report back after that.
And all the meetings are on the drive too. You uploaded all the meetings.
Yeah, I can schedule all the meetings on Drive. They're basically always at 6:30 at the 3rd Thursday of the month.
I'm dead.
You're dead. Okay.
A 1 hour of that don't work. Well, we didn't put new ones in today, so that's on that. I'll make sure we remove them too.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Wozniak. Sorry about that. Okay, community announcements. So we have quite a few. Our next council meeting is Thursday, March 12th at 7 o'clock. We also have a substitute part-time crossing guard available for Crafton Elementary, and you can apply on our website for that. We also have our 2026 summer employment. This is assistant pool manager, head lifeguard, lifeguards, junior lifeguards, cashiers, attendants, concession stand workers, and seasonal public works. Those applications are due March 11th, which are before our next council meeting. So get those in, and it's a really early start because we have a lot of applications for these positions. So they won't begin until I think the May, June time period, and we're already getting applications. Bird Town Committee. So of course, we're officially a bird town. If you love birds, we're taking applications for this subcommittee of the Shade Tree Commission. Send a letter of interest to the Shade Tree Commission Chairman, Nathan Henry. His address is on the agenda as soon as possible. We have our Shade Tree Commission meeting next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. So you're certainly able to attend that meeting as the public can. But if you are interested, we're going to be talking about that subcommittee. We do have a $1,000 grant that we have to spend based on just joining. We were granted $1,000. There's a lot of really cool things we can do with that money, and part of it will be decided or at least proposed through the Bird Tree Committee. Our trash recycling payments. So tomorrow, Jordan Tax will be on site from 9 to 12 to accept the payments, and that will be at the 5% discounted rate. And those are due tomorrow. And all other payments are due March 31st without the discounts. And of course, snow reminders, clearing your sidewalk and driveways within 24 hours of the snow event. Do not push or dump snow onto roadways on your neighbor's sidewalks. And please check on elderly or away neighbors and lend a hand if they need help clearing their walkways. And with that, anybody else have anything? All right, we'll go to public comments. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitor is our assigned timekeeper. Please state your name and physical address for the record. So for anybody here, you can just raise your hand. Yeah, Ben? Oh, wait. Yeah, is he on?
Yeah.
Ben Belmont, 270 West Steuben Street. When you post things for the land bank, could you include would it be possible to include a link to the real estate tax assessment for the parcel as well? I know how to do it, but a lot of other people in the community might not know how to go to that place. Okay. And secondly, I did have a thought. I mentioned it to the planning commission once, but possibly if you get an extra grant, maybe put signs to the business district and to the businesses around the circle out here, because there's a lot of road traffic on West Steuben Street, and they might not even know that there's businesses a block away. And that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Ben. Any response?
No problem putting links to the county's website showing the delinquency for these properties.
And on the next thing, I emailed council right before, or no, I emailed the infrastructure committee right before, but I can also send it to the rest of council. The community project funding has opened again for Deluzio's office and for John Fetterman and McCormick's office. And that is due March 6th, which is a very fast turnaround time for this. We did receive funding in the last cycle, so we're probably not as likely to get funding this time. Typically, they kind of try to spread it around. But we do have the ability to, reason I thought about it related to this is we do have the ability to reapply for the DCD grant that we applied for, which was a $3 million grant application, but we only got 325,000. We could basically reapply for the same thing. But through the CPF, because we already have all that stuff prepared. And signage and wayfinding was a part of that, which is exactly what you're talking about. So we could possibly apply for that. But just wanted to throw it out there that that's out there, and the easy button is applying for that, and probably the only thing that we really have time to apply for, because we have a week. And that's what happens with these. They really are only for prepared projects. You really have to have everything ready to go. And since we just received funding for a bunch of projects, we really don't have that next thing ready to go yet. So
could we put something together for next year?
oh yeah, we'll be ready next year, but I think we should still maybe apply for that DC, like basically putting in a very similar application to what we put in for DCD. Because why not? We have the ability to do it. If we don't get it, we don't get it, but at least it'll be ready to go again if we need to, if we want to apply for it again, but then we can also spend the year thinking about and considering other options. Yeah.
All right, anybody else? Yeah, please.
Reese Smith, 58 Coulter Street. Is still on?
No. Another dead battery.
Okay, I think we're back on now.
Yeah.
Okay, Reese Smith, 58 Coulter Street. First thing is a question that I guess reminded me. I know like on the Allegheny County real estate portal, people can see the delinquent taxes for the county property tax. Is there anywhere to see the local county tax delinquency, like online or anything like that? And then the second thing was about the rental things for the Crafton Park. One of the things I would encourage you guys to like take a particular look at is sort of the mechanism for paying for them, like the mechanism for renting them out. I think to like, the kids in the community, they don't always have phones. If they do have phones, they may not have, debit cards linked to them. I think it would be nice if there's like a way for kids to be able to rent them with like cash, coins. If they have those things, their parents can say, here's $5, you can go out of the park and rent out one of the things to do. I think it would be really valuable to make sure that our kids can use them. I think back to, when I was like in school and stuff, and what there was to do was like hang out at the park, and when just hanging out sort of got too boring, like we would like loiter in like Walgreens and stuff, you start to run out of things to do. So having more things to do is beneficial, and making sure that kids can do them easily and reduce friction. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, he had two questions. One was to see the local tax delinquency on the website.
I would say, I think that you can access publicly the Department of Court Records website. And if you search by lot and block number, it'll all of those liens that have been filed will come up, and you can see it that way.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
And then the other was, checking on the mechanisms for cash and coins on the rent.fund.
Yeah, I think realistically, you're not going to be able to do that. I think we've discussed that. We know that's an issue. Again, this is kind of like where you don't want to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. We'll be able to provide this service. We could have it available for people that only have cash at the pool while it's open. And that is certainly something that we could do. And you could also possibly have the library have, them available. But now you're having a kid, this is a pretty long distance if you don't have a vehicle. But those are really the only options. We would provide that, especially with the pool. I think the pool makes more sense. But that's really going to be like the likelihood, because as soon as you get into mechanics of actually having a thing that can take change, now you're talking about something that can break very easily. It's very different, and that's something that I don't think is available that I know of.
And part of it is for irresponsible renters. Now Rent Fund has their credit card, and there's a fee.
Oh, because you can take the bocce balls and run, and then pay $5. Okay,
right. Where the bocce ball set might cost $30 or $40, where
Then they'll
we won't be able to take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they can charge their card. Okay,
Right.
that's great. Thank you. Anybody else? All right, anybody online? Please raise your hand. All right, it is perfectly 9 o'clock and meeting is adjourned.